Shalom everyone, this is Dr. Durr. I'd like to welcome you back to the Hebrew Word Power channel. Today's Hebrew Word Power is El Shaddai. Yahuah is more than enough. Hallelujah. I'd like to say all praises to the Most High Yahuah, He who breathes life. Behold in their hands His Son Yahushua. Yahuah is salvation. The Ruach HaKodesh, the set apart spirit, the Comforter, the one who leads us into all truth. Praying that all is well with you and your family. Praying that you will accomplish all that the Most High Yahuah has given you to do. Hallelujah. Go with me to the book of Genesis, the 17th chapter, starting at the first verse. And it reads, "And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, he was 99 years old, Yahuah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect." That word El Shaddai means the Almighty Elohim. And it's found 37 times throughout the set apart scriptures. The second verse, "And I will make my covenant between me and you and will multiply you exceedingly." Notice what he said, I'm going to make my covenant between me and you. Let's find out how he is El Shaddai. "And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations." Let's see what happened. "Neither shall your name any more be Abram." Abram means high father, "But your name shall be Abraham." That means father of a multitude. Hallelujah. He was Abram, a high father, but now he's going to be a father of multitude. So therefore, Yahuah became El Shaddai in his life. Yahuah, the one who is more than enough. Let's read that fifth verse again. "Neither shall your name any more be Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made with you. And I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and will make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant to be Elohim unto you and to your seeds after you. And I will give unto you to your seed after you the land wherein you are a stranger, and all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. I will be your Elohim." And Elohim said unto Abraham, "You shall guard my covenant, therefore you and your seed after you in their generation. This is my covenant which you shall guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised." Now when we go to the commentary, David Gusick commentary, we're going to read from Genesis 17, 1 through 2 and give you an explanation. This when Yahuah appeared unto Abraham and changed his name. He became El Shaddai unto Abraham, the Elohim who is more than enough. Let's find out about that as we read this commentary. "When Abraham was 99 years old, Yahuah appeared to Abraham and said, I am Almighty Yahuah. Walk before me and be blameless, and I will make my covenant between me and you and will multiply you exceedingly." Yahuah appeared to Abraham. Undoubtedly, this is the appearance of Yahushua and two men. These two men represented the angelic host, and they came down in the form of men, as did Yahushua himself when he came before his incarnation on the earth itself. Let's read a little further. "I am Almighty El," this is what he stated, "for Elohim told Abraham who he was. By his name El Shaddai, he revealed himself in this person and character to Abraham. However, there is some debate as to what exactly the name El Shaddai means. One scholar, Kittner, a traditional analysis of the name is El. The word who means Sa is sufficient. That word means day. El Sadeh. Another scholar, Clark, says El Shaddai, I am El, all sufficient, from Shaddai means to shed, to pour out. I am that El who pours out blessings, who gives them richly, abundantly, and continuously. Another scholar, Barnhouse, the Hebrew word shad means chest or breast. It may have in mind the strength of a man's chest. Elohim Almighty, or the comfort and the nourishment of a woman's breast. Yahuah of tender care. Lipud said that Shaddai comes from the root word Shaddad, which means to display power. We also know that the Septuagint translate the word in the Greek Pantocrator, means Almighty, the one who has his hand on everything. Hallelujah. Each one of those definitions from the East Scholar were powerful definitions. You just have to find out which text makes sense to you in that commentary, and whatever book you utilize, whatever commentary you utilize, use the one that Yah allows you to use. The next part of the commentary says, walk before me and be blameless. Then Yahuah told Abram what was expected of him. We can only do what Yah expects of us when we know who he is and know it in a full, personal, and real way. The word blameless literally means whole. Yahuah wanted all of Abram, wanting a total commitment. Then he told him in the following verse, I will make my covenant between me and you. El also reminded Abram he had not forgotten the covenant, though it had been 25 years since the promise was first made, and though it seemed to Abram that Yah forgot, Elohim didn't forget anything. He kept it in mind. The last thing we are told Yahuah communicated with Abram directly was more than 13 years before. Seemingly, Abram had 13 years of normal fellowship with Yah, waiting for the promise of all times. Surely at times during those years, Abram felt forgotten. Abram was becoming a great man of faith, but you don't make a great man of faith overnight. It takes years of Yah working on that person or that individual, years of almost mundane trusting Yah, also dealing with a few spectacular encounters with the Most High himself. Then Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you. You shall be a father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you. Kings shall come from you, and I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you in their generation, for an everlasting covenant to be Elohim to you and your descendants after you. Also I will give you and your descendants after you in the land which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I will be their Elohim. This commentary breaks it down plain. Listen at this. He said, no longer shall your name be Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. To encourage Abraham's faith in the promise of descendants, Elohim changed Abram's name from Abram, father of many, high father, to Abraham, father of nation. There was no doubt a sense in which Abram, father of many, was a hard name to bear for a man who was the father of none. Abram itself means father of many, but he had no seed. So it was a hard name to bear for a man who was the father of none, especially in a culture where inquiry about one's personal life was a courteous practice. Now Elohim went a step further and made his name father of many nations. It's almost preposterous for a childless man to have such a name. You have to understand names meant something at that time. Today people just name names, just call names, put names on children, names on grandbabies, just put names on folks and don't even know what the names means. Names mean something. That's why y'all said, if my people which are called by my name. Yah's people had his name in their names, so those names meant something. So here it is, Abraham sitting out there with a name, Abraham, when he used to be Abram, which was the father of many, but now here comes Yah changing his name to Abraham. That means a father of many nations. Listen at this. Think of when Abraham announced his name change to others. Remember I told you it meant something back in those days. They must have thought he wanted to escape the burden of his name. Instead, he increased the burden. It took a step further. El Shaddai jumped on the scene. The one who's more than enough. There are many wonderful name changes in the Bible, such as Elohim changed Jacob's name to YASHAR'AL. That's Genesis 32:28. And when he changed Simon's name to Peter, which is Kepher, as Mark 3:16, Yahuah promised a wonderful new name to every overcomer to him in Revelations 2:17. Elohim also gives us many names in faith: saints, righteous, chosen, royal priesthood, sons of Yah, and so forth. He knows he will accomplish the meaning of the name in us, even if it seems preposterous. Now, when he changed his name from Abram to Abraham, Yah did that on purpose, because he told Abraham it was an everlasting possession. What he wanted to do was encourage Abram's faith in the promise of the land. Yahuah repeated the promise again, reminding Abram it is an everlasting possession given by an everlasting covenant. Now we're going to Romans, the 4th chapter. We're going to be reading from the Amplified Bible. It breaks it down and makes it plain. The 9th verse. Is this blessing only for the circumcised or also for the uncircumcised? For we say faith was credited to Abraham as righteousness. How then was it credited to him? Was it after he had been circumcised or before? Not after, but while he was uncircumcised, he received the sign of circumcision, a seal or a confirmation of righteousness, which he had by faith while he was still uncircumcised. This was so that he would be the spiritual father of all who believe without being circumcised, so that righteousness would be credited to them, and that he would be the spiritual father of those circumcised, whom are not only circumcised, but who also walk in the steps of faith of our father Abraham, which he had before he was circumcised. Now listen at this. Don't twist it up now and think that the law was done away with. The law was not done away with. It was making a point. And the 13th verse is going to break it down. It says, for the promise to Abraham or to his descendants that he might be the heirs of the world was not through observing the requirements of the law. He didn't have to do that, but through the righteousness of faith, because he believed Yah in a desperate and a dire situation. Yah was going to make him the father of many nations when this man's insides had no reproductive power, and his wife could not have children herself because she was old. Yah said, he didn't need to use the law in that moment. He was just using faith in that moment. Are you catching what I'm saying? Not that the law was done away with, and a few verses later you're going to understand that. Watch this. If those who are followers of the law are the true heirs of Abraham, which they are, then faith leading to salvation is of no effect and void, and the promises of Yah is nullified. For the law results in Yah's wrath against sin. But where there is no law, there is no violation of it either. At that moment, Yah wasn't utilizing the law to get Abraham to become a father of many nations. He was using Abraham's faith that he would believe in him and that he would become El Shaddai in his life. Now watch this. Listen at the 16th verse. Therefore, inheriting the promise depends entirely on faith. That is confidence, trust in the unseen Elohim, in order that he may be given as an act of grace his unmerited favor and mercy, so that the promise will be legally guaranteed to all descendants of Abraham. Not only for those Hebrew believers who keep the law. Stop right there. Not only to those Hebrew believers that keep the law. That means there's nothing wrong with keeping it. He says for them too. Not only to those that keep it. He didn't say it was done away with. But also to those Gentile believers who share the faith of Abraham, who is the spiritual father of us all. That point right there was dealing with faith in Yah's ability to perform a miracle that brought about salvation for everyone, because Abraham believed Yah in the most desperate time, and he became El Shaddai, the one who is more than enough to Abraham himself and to us as his people. If you go to Romans, the 4th chapter, starting at the 16th verse, it reads, therefore it is of faith that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all seed, not to that only which is of the Torah, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. Romans 4:17 says, as it is written, I have made you a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even Elohim, who quickeneth the dead, and called those things which be not as though they were. 18th verse. Who against hope believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations, according to that which was spoken, so shall your seed be. When you go back to Genesis, the 18th chapter, it begins to talk about, tells you when Yahushua came down, the two angels came down, Abraham prepared food for them, and Yahushua told Abraham, look, your wife Sarah is going to be pregnant and have a child by this time next year. And they laughed. They couldn't believe it, because Abraham was 99 years old. He couldn't believe it, and Sarah was laughing, and Yahushua called on Spotting said, Sarah, what you laughing for? Oh, I'm not laughing. He said, yes, you did. You laughed. Therefore, your son going to be Isaac or Yitzhak, which means laughter. Because you laughed. You don't believe I can do it. He said, I'm El Shaddai. He was letting them know I'm more than enough. I can do anything. I can perform this assignment. I can perform this mission. It may be preposterous to others, but I'm Yah. Let me go to that 18th verse again. Who against hope. So it was against hope. Abraham was old and Sarai was old. Believed in hope that he might become the father of many nations. There was no way he was going to be a father of many nations at his age. But Yah stepped in. According to that which was spoken, so shall your seed be. And being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body not dead when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of Elohim through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to Elohim. 21st verse saying, being fully persuaded that what he had promised, he was able also to perform. What Yah did, he told Abraham what he was getting ready to do. Abraham believed Yah. He was fully persuaded. He knew Yah was going to come through. And therefore, it was imputed to him for righteousness. You had no need at that moment for any law to be into play. It had no need for that. Yah wanted Abraham's full trust in his ability to perform. Trust in Yah with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him. He shall direct your path. 23rd verse. Now it was not written for his sake alone, but it was imputed to him. 24, but for us also to whom it shall be imputed. If we believe on him that raised up Yahushua HaMashiach, our Adonai from the dead, who was delivered for our offenses and was raised again for our justification. That's why you have to go to Romans 5 and 1. It said, therefore being justified by faith, we have peace with Elohim through our Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach. It's about faith. We walk by faith and not by sight. I love you all. Shalom.